Good day. I am Analou C, and I'll be presenting blended learning as one of the English language teaching methods and techniques. We have three objectives for this lesson. First, describe blended learning as an innovative approach in teaching English language. Second, enumerate the delivery modes in using blended learning in English language teaching. And lastly, craft a lesson plan using the blended learning format. Now, what is blended learning in English language teaching? Blended learning is an innovative teaching method in English language which combines different learning approaches supported by flexible interactive platforms and resources that offer new environments to improve skills and upgrade competencies. Its concept suggests that under current conditions, the educational system up-to-date methods of traditional education can be optimally combined with the advantages of remote technologies. It covers a range of recent technologies such as the internet, CD-ROOMs, and interactive whiteboards. The term blended learning first appeared around 2000 and was at that time often associated with simply supplementing traditional classroom learning with self-study e-learning activities. Charles Graham describes the historical emergence of blended learning as the convergence between traditional face-to-face learning environments and computer-mediated or distributed learning environments. More recently, the pedagogic value of providing blended learning opportunities has received significant attention, and the term has evolved to encompass a much richer set of learning approaches and environments. According to Deborah Marsh, today, blended learning can refer to any combination of different methods of learning, different learning environments, different learning styles. Elliot Massey considers blended learning as the central theme of his chapter on the blended learning imperative and emphasizes that all great learning is blended. Blended learning challenges learners' thinking and design language learning tasks. Students are autonomous learners who participate actively and are responsible for their learning process. Banados 2006. There are three delivery modes in using blended learning in English language teaching. The first we have the face-to-face classroom. Second, we have live e-learning. And last one we have the self-paced learning. Face-to-face classroom involves a great deal of student-teacher interaction. It is primarily, although not exclusively, delivered through classroom teaching where students will be in physical attendance. Live e-learning or online learning has its key element, which is the internet. It refers to the idea of using online tools for learning. Basically, an online learning implies a distance between you and your teachers. The last mode of blended learning is the self-paced learning. It means that you can learn in your own time and schedule. In this way of learning, students customize their learning environment to fit their individual needs as learners. There are 4 reasons why blended learning is an effective way to learn English. Number 1. Blended learning promotes the use of e-learning tools. Online learning software offers an abundance of exercises, built-in self-assessment tools, and revision resources on demand. Students find that they learn far better when they are able to use dynamic presentational and online learning tools. Number 2, blended learning allows students to study on their own terms. Traditionally, most learning has taken place in the classroom. Today, students have so many resources at their fingertips outside of the classroom that it makes sense for them to be able to tap into this. E-learning software makes it possible for students to take control over much of their own learning. They can access it wherever and whenever they choose and are no longer limited to making progress during a small window of classroom time. Number 3, blended learning offers precious face-to-face learning time. Blended learning ensures that learners do get to benefit from presential classes, whether that's in a traditional classroom environment or in a virtual classroom. Number 4, blended learning gives valuable personal feedback. Online assessments can give a great insight into how a learner is doing. In the blended learning model, a learner can benefit from e-learning software to practice not only the vocabulary and grammar rules, but also work with a teacher to practice talking and listening skills. From those reasons why blended learning is an effective method to learn English language, still, there are 6 major issues that Graham 2004 considered prior to designing a blended learning course. First one, we have the role of live interaction. How necessary is the face-to-face component of the course? Certainly, in ELT, it would seem fair to say students place a great deal of emphasis on this element of the course, and that is vital. Second is, we have the role of learner choice and self-regulation. How much guidance should the students be given when it comes to choosing the type of blended learning course they participate in particular relation to university courses? Third is models for support and training. How to support and train the instructors and students in a blended learning environment, plus provide technological support. Fourth, finding balance between innovation and production, and how to do so in a cost-effective way. Fifth, cultural adaptation. Should the materials be adapted to suit local audiences? Sixth, dealing with the digital divide. Can affordable blended learning models be developed to accommodate those at the bottom of the socio-economic spectrum? Apart from those issues enumerated, I have right here a video for you to further understand what is blended learning.
Blended learning describes a fundamental change in education design by utilizing a combination of digital learning objects and active learning methods to improve the learning experience and outcomes. A teaching session created with a blended learning model uses the face-to-face teaching time for activities that benefit the most from direct instruction. There's general consensus that blended learning has 3 main components: face-to-face active learning activities facilitated by an educator, digital learning objects, often bite-sized chunks of information, and structured independent study time guided by the face-to-face teaching experience. There is no set percentage for each of these components, and the amount of blend can vary from session to session. The move to blended learning supports the role of the educator to shift to a more facilitation role. The facilitator places an emphasis on empowering learners with the skills and knowledge required to make the most of the digital materials, active learning activities, and independent study time by guiding the learners through the experience. Facilitators focus on three key areas: development of digital and active learning course content, guiding the learning experience of individual learners and customizing material wherever possible to strengthen the learning experience. And, as with all educational methods, appropriate assessment. Blended learning has already produced an offshoot called flipped learning that's quickly become an approach of its own and is covered in an additional video in the series.
Now, I have here sample lesson plan using blended learning approach in English language teaching. As you've noticed, there are two 21st century skills that will be developed in this lesson. First is the critical thinking. It is because students will have to think of keywords or phrases that would be best to search for their topic using a search engine. Another skill is the technology skills. It is because students will have to know how to utilize the computer and typing skills. For Common Core Standard, which is writing, students have to name a topic, supply some facts about the topic, and provide some sense of closure. Another standard is in the research and information fluency, where students can apply digital tools to gather, evaluate, and use information. Then we also have the general learner outcomes, or the GLOS, wherein students will become self-directed learner, quality producer, and effective and ethical user of technology. The desired outcome will enable the student to research an animal, gather notes, and write an informative writing piece about that animal. After teacher approves writing sample, student will type up report. For flexible learning, whole class and small group, the teacher will have to start with a small group instruction according to students' learning ability. Right then, teacher will plan lessons to target their needs. I have here a sample assessment rubric as well as lesson procedure and sequence. First, teacher introduces informative writing by reading different student samples from last year. With guided practice, students will construct writing pieces daily. Teacher will introduce Google search engine and teach students how to search for a topic. Then students get into groups. With guidance from the teacher, students will rotate groups daily. After researching topic, students meet with teacher with final writing pieces for approval. That's all for my report. Thank you and God bless.